The message we heard tonight from President Trump is it's one of optimism, of great things to come for this country, all positive, and for good reason. This is a president of action, and it's clear that he'll deliver on the promises that he made to the American people in the campaign. That's kind of a novel idea, that the president's going to do what he said he was going to do. The American people know better than to believe everything they see on TV, according to a new poll from Politico. Now, that was just this morning. 69% of the voters agree that President Trump is doing as much or more than they expected during his first month. And 56% believe he's following through on his promises. In other words, he's doing what he said he would do. I couldn't agree more. In fact, just a few weeks ago, I was at the White House for a signing ceremony on the very first law canceling out an Obama era regulation. It was a bill that I wrote, and it puts domestic energy producers on a level playing field with their foreign competitors. It's a big deal. And he did what he said he would do. Today I was back at the White House as Trump signed an executive order instructing the EPA to kill the Waters of the United States rule. The rule, which had already been stayed by the Sixth Circuit Court, would have vastly expanded EPA's authority over state-regulated waters, unfairly penalizing farmers, developers, and the agriculture and energy industries. You know, in fact, this is the number one concern of the farmers of not just Oklahoma, but of America. And this is just a start of the many good things to come over the next 4 years. President Trump's commitment to repeal 2 regulations for every new one will reduce the regulatory uncertainty that has crippled our economy. You've heard me talking about this over the years. With a strong economy, Americans will be put back to work and be able to support their families. Now, soon, in tandem with the House and the Senate, President Trump will solve the health care crisis by repealing and replacing Obamacare. Obama promised the American people that Obamacare would lower costs, expand access, and make health care more affordable, but we all know it's been a disaster. It hasn't done any of these things. This is especially true in Oklahoma, where Obamacare premiums skyrocketed by 78% this year, which is the highest in the entire nation. Oklahoma is number one. It's now our job to give Americans real reform that'll actually bring costs down and leave Washington bureaucrats out of the business of health care. I'm confident Trump will get this across the finish line. Tonight, President Trump also made it very clear that following 8 years of defense budget cuts, we finally have an administration that understands our military's critical needs and their need for additional funding. The time is now to rebuild our depleted forces. Readiness levels across all services are approaching historic lows, and the world situation is more dangerous than I've ever seen it. President Trump's commitment to increasing defense spending is a great first step to rebuilding our military and represents his clear commitment to prioritizing the defense of our nation as the Constitution clearly requires. Along the same lines, our president reiterated that our veterans deserve the best possible care available, as well as all the benefits they've been promised. This includes allowing them the flexibility to choose their health care providers, and reducing bureaucracy and red tape around the veterans' health care. And by the way, they were the 2 biggest groups, the disabled vets and the other, that were in my office today. And they're very excited about what the president is going to be doing for veterans. He campaigned on it, and he's going to do it. The fact of the matter is that the priorities the Trump administration has set are good for all Americans, regardless of party, and will solve problems we all face on a daily basis. One way is by beginning to restore our country's crumbling infrastructure. Last Congress, I was proud to pass, we called it the FAST Act. It's a 5-year, $305 billion surface transportation reauthorization bill, one of the largest single infrastructure investments in our nation's history. But this isn't enough. That's one of the things we're supposed to be doing. Sometimes I think people ought to read the Constitution. You know, defending America and our infrastructure are the two main priorities we should have. And this president has those priorities. Our federal highway system still suffers from a $1 trillion backlog to maintain, modernize, and expand this system. And this figure does not include the other 3.8 million miles of surface roads in the country or the needs of our other modes of transportation. Now, increasing our nation's investment in infrastructure will advance transportation safety, deliver necessary improvements to air and rail travel and road travel, and our waterway systems, such as we have in Oklahoma, and enhance mobility through innovation and the adoption of new technologies. Lastly, today, with the late Anton Scalia's wife, Maureen, in the audience, President Trump has reminded us of the importance of the United States Supreme Court. His pick to fill Scalia's seat, Neil Gorsuch, it just will uphold the constitutional values we all hold dear for decades to come, whether it's our gun rights, our freedom of religion, our freedom of speech, or separation of powers. Gorsuch is the right guy for the job, a steady hand who will fill Scalia's big shoes. Tonight's address by our president has reaffirmed his commitment to working with Congress, his commitment to really hearing the concerns of our constituents, to ensuring our communities are safe, our families are healthy, and we have the appropriate mechanisms in place to advance our economy and rebuild the middle class. I look forward to working alongside with the president and with my colleagues in the House and the Senate to achieve all of these initiatives and more to truly make America great again. It was a great speech.